If you're not ready for power, this paddle will wake you up pretty quick. Today we're going to be reviewing the Selkirk SLK ERA. Going to be going over who it's for, how it feels on the court, and exactly how this thing plays and how long it took me to get used to. Alright guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be reviewing the Selkirk SLK ERA. It's going to be a pretty interesting paddle. I have a lot of good things, mainly good things to say about this paddle. For some context, right now I'm probably hovering around a 3.5. I don't have my duper yet, but probably that 3.5 climbing towards 4.0. To give you some insight on how the paddle actually plays, how I played with it, which you might be able to see from the clips that I'll be playing in the background. It's big roller coaster of emotions. And as much as I do love this paddle, I'm going to do my best to not hype it up. Just for everyone's information, I did not get this sent to me by Selkirk. They didn't have any type of influence on the video. This is going to be my own opinion, my own thoughts. So we'll get right into it. All right, so some first impressions off the paddle. The word power that you can see right here on the side, it's not just for advertisement. This thing has some real power, a lot of pop as well to it. First impression, I figured that out pretty quickly. You don't have to swing this thing as hard as you can to get the power out of it. It will produce it on its own. And like I said, the power immediately was super noticeable. Most of my paddles, I haven't played with any true power paddles. I've mainly come from like some control focused paddles, maybe some all court. This is probably the first true power paddle that I've owned, and it humbled me very quickly. So now we're going to get into my favorite thing about this paddle, which is the power and the amount of forgiveness that this paddle has. A lot of power paddles that I've seen, at least other people review, they say that they don't have a huge sweet spot. I think this thing with no weight, I do have a little bit of weight on it, but outside of that, I played with this stock for about a week. And even with no weight, this thing had a pretty good sweet spot already, just completely stock. Real quick, I'll throw up the stock numbers for my unit. You'll be able to see them up there. I honestly think that this thing performs pretty well, honestly, stock. I put a little bit of tape there at the top, got some edge tape on there as well, and then some tape on the side to kind of broaden the stability and the sweet spot a little bit. This thing has insane power. It's super noticeable. I don't even know how to explain it without saying that it just has a bunch of power. It will hit freaking rockets. I honestly love this thing so much. But the sweet spot really is a lot bigger than you would expect. I mean, you can see there on the paddle face, I'm hitting it mainly where you want to, right there in the middle of the face, but even some off-center shots really didn't twist the paddle at all in my hand or give me any type of vibration or uh, no feedback that I hit like a super off-center shot, which I think in this thing is actually pretty crazy to have. Even on some of my smaller swings, just maybe some light taps right there at the kitchen, I was surprised at how fast that the ball came off the face and how much power just a little, tap like that was able to produce. So like I've said multiple times before, I do really love this paddle, but I think what's going to drive some people away from it is going to be the learning curve. This thing took a lot of getting used to. I would say the first 5, 6, maybe going into 8 or 9 games that I played, it was really hard to get used to. Maybe that's just me because I've played with some softer paddles, but it took me a little bit of time to really understand what my swing was going to produce on the ball and really where my shots were going to land. A lot of my shots from the beginning, it was just soaring. Had no chance of even getting in, and it was an emotional roller coaster because I would get frustrated, and because I'm used to hitting those shots with a control paddle, but this being a little bit stiffer than those control paddles that I'm used to, it took some time to get used to. And what really woke me up and made me understand really exactly what I need to do is just put some trust in the paddle. I tried to produce way too much power just from my arm and wrist and didn't really let the paddle shine or do any type of work on its own. I was trying to create the power like I'm used to with those control paddles instead of trying to go for more placement, hitting softer shots, and then letting the paddle put the power into it. Real quick, I am going to talk about the spin. I know in my last video I did a review on the Hirachi X Jelly Bean. Uh, Surprisingly, this paddle has the exact same face layup. So it's pretty interesting to see what that face layup can do on a control paddle versus a power paddle. And I would say that the spin's not anything crazy. It's nothing to write home about. I wish I was able to measure it in some form, but I don't think that there's any problem with it at all. I wouldn't say it's overwhelming, but I would say, I would say it's pretty similar to the jelly bean that I did in my last video, but like I said, nothing really crazy uh, to write home about. But I do think that the spin is pretty exceptional. It's not lacking in spin at all. So I'm going to talk about where I'm at with this paddle, how I feel about it. I would say just about a month in, I'm getting a lot more comfortable as I start to play with it more often. And I really think that that's what's going to happen if you get this paddle. You're going to have to spend some time playing with it consistently before you even feel confident. And then probably a few more games, maybe about 2 or 3 days playing consistently until you feel fully confident in this paddle. Now I'm going to get into more of how this thing plays at the kitchen, which I don't see a lot of other people do very often, but I think it's pretty important. At the kitchen, this thing is insane. Like I said, I'm going to try my best not to hype it up, but I just have a little soft spot for this paddle just because I've seen a lot of videos about it. But like I said, at the kitchen, this thing, pretty good. I can't really describe it in any other way, but I would say that, like I said, those small swings just generate so much pop off the face and then so much power right behind it. It is absolutely nuts. Hopefully, you're able to see some good clips from some gameplay of me the other day using this thing. So um, I think at the kitchen, this thing is, I would rate it about a 8. I think those backhand flicks you're able to hit pretty easily with very, very minimal effort. I'd be surprised if the majority of people can really return those shots. Now into the feel. I hear a lot of people describe paddles as hollow or dense or muted feeling. I would say that this thing, I don't know if I've ever heard anyone say this, but it's really crisp. It The way that this thing sounds when a ball comes off the face and you hit the sweet spot perfectly, it's almost music to my ears. I just love the sound. Even if the shot goes straight into the net, I still love the sound of this paddle. I would say it's definitely fairly hollow feeling. It's a little stiff. Like I said, I'm used to playing more control paddles, so I'm used to something a little bit softer, more plush. But this thing is fairly stiff. I would say that this paddle is pretty stiff compared to a lot of other paddles. I don't play with a lot of power paddles, but from the ones that I've had, this thing plays. I would say that this plays pretty stiff compared to other power paddles that I've hit, maybe that I don't own, but other ones that I've hit before. Pros and cons, and who I really think that this paddle would be best in the hands of. So pros, I'm not going to talk about the power anymore just because I'm going to hype it up too much. But the power, definitely, it has a lot of pop and power, uh, even from just small swings. The con is the control. I think if you play with this paddle enough, you'll be able to dial in the control. But completely off the rip, if it's your first time ever playing with this paddle, I think you're going to have a hard time keeping the ball in the court. Maybe if you're a super high level player, I don't think you would have a problem. But just more of the average Joe like myself, the control portion of this is definitely something that I see as a drawback. Not in a super negative way, just because that control can be dialed in with consistency and experience playing with this paddle. Now, getting into who I think that this paddle is for. I think if you're just starting out playing, or you've played a couple times and you're wanting to get a little bit serious, I would probably not recommend this as my first choice for you. I would definitely recommend more of a control paddle if you're newer player, maybe even that little bit past beginner, I would say this is not going to be my first recommendation just because of the amount of power this thing has and the liability that you might be with this paddle in your hands. I would say for the people that are looking for extreme pop, extreme power, this 100% would be my first choice, my first recommendation for you, just because this has exactly all of that. It has really good pop, really good power, has decent spin, and if you're able to control the power, it can be pretty deadly in the right hands. I think it plays really well in the right hands. So my final thoughts on the SLK era from Selkirk, it is super fun to play with. There's no other way to describe it than that. Hitting overheads, it just makes you feel like you're the strongest person on the earth. Makes you feel really good hitting a nice overhead. It sounds really good. Even though it is a stiffer paddle, I think it feels really nice with weight or without. Experience for sure to play with. I think you're going to have a lot of ups and downs whenever you first start playing with it. But like myself, as time goes on, you start to understand the paddle a little bit more, understand the feel a little bit more as well, and be able to really dial in those power shots and maybe start getting into some smaller shots like some dinks or resets at the kitchen. If this review helped you out at all, please drop a like and subscribe. If you guys have any paddles that you would like for me to review in the future, please drop them down in the comments. Right now, I plan to do, trying to find it, the Harmony from Pickleball Apes. It's a surprisingly good paddle as well, mainly control focused. That's going to be my next video. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys in the next video.